Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and there are multiple mystery X-Men cameos waiting to surprise us in an upcoming Marvel Studios film before Avengers Secret Wars. And I think we can deduce exactly who it is and in what movie or movies they are appearing in. This was confirmed by Kevin Feige at APAC earlier this month. A very weird quote that went over many of our heads, and once I started to apply it to what we know about the upcoming year of the MCU, I think we figured it out, folks. And I think I actually understand why Kevin Feige is so excited for Fantastic Four First Steps. I mean, yes, it's going to be a very exciting movie, but he seems to have like a personal attachment to this movie, and I connected the dots here. But before we get into it, the holidays are here, and one of the best places to get a gift for that special nerd in your life is our official merch store, nerdright.shop, with tons of shirts inspired by our favorite Marvel titles. You gotta go red and green with a New Mask Same Task shirt, or our Hulk boys. Ho ho Hulk! All right, last week we talked about how the events of Fantastic Four First Steps and Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars could lead to the mutant saga beyond it, based on Kevin Feige's quote at APAC in Singapore.
And then right after that, the whole story of Secret Wars really leads us into a new age of mutants and of the X-Men.
And while, yes, that's very interesting, there was a fuller context of the question that was asked to lead to this answer, and what Kevin Feige was really answering that we just need to take a step back and look more closely at.
Okay, Kevin, one last question for you here. I mean, the Marvel's broadest beast, the Multiverse of Madness showed us Professor X, and the new trailer for What If introduces Storm, and Deadpool Wolverine showed us many different Wolverines. When are we going to see the X-Men properly enter the MCU?
Well, as you said, I mean, it has already started, and certainly Deadpool Wolverine was the biggest yet. I think you will see that continue into our next few movies and some X-Men players that you might recognize. And then right after that, the whole story of Secret Wars really leads us into a new age of mutants and of the X-Men. And again, one of these dreams come true that we finally have the X-Men back in Huddleston.
Okay, so there's an additional takeaway here, right? Kevin Feige is admitting that we will see in the next few movies multiple X-Men players that we will recognize. And he said this in the context of the examples given by the panel host. Kelsey Grammer's cameo as Hank McCoy Beast in The Marvels, a cameo that we still have only questions about. Patrick Stewart's cameo as Professor Charles Xavier in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Hugh Jackman's return as Wolverine in Deadpool and Wolverine. And the recent confirmation that Allison Seeley Smith is returning to voice Storm in What If Season 3 after voicing the character in the X-Men 90s run and in X-Men 97. So we're talking about, in addition to these, another familiar actor or actors returning to play iconic X-Men characters. Not necessarily an X-Men character recast as a new actor that will have viewers confused and asking questions. It needs to be someone who, like Beast, is an iconic, familiar face. This video is sponsored by DoorDash. If there's one holiday lesson we've all learned the hard way, it's that you can never have enough ice. There's no faster way to pump the brakes on an otherwise successful dinner party than to tell everybody they gotta put up with warm, sparkling apple cider because you didn't think ahead. But with DoorDash, you can summon ice like some kind of cryomancer right from your phone. DoorDash is an on-demand delivery platform that can get whatever you need from the store to your door. Whether that's ice, extra napkins, or instant mashed potatoes, DoorDash can take care of errands to help you be the host with the most. No more running to the store to get that one thing you forgot. Also, even if you're not hosting, DoorDash is great for those days where you just can't leave the house. Using DoorDash to get coffee and lunch without having to wake up your kid who's finally napping can make tough days feel so much easier. DoorDash is your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to get almost anything delivered and use code NewRockstars2024 to get 50% off up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more. Terms apply. And every indication has pointed to Feige considering the iconic versions of these characters to be the era of Fox X-Men films that he had something to do with, and not the latter Simon Kinberg-driven era of the franchise with actors from X-Men First Class, X-Men Apocalypse, and Dark Phoenix. Nothing against any of those actors, those just aren't the ones that Feige has a personal attachment to. And Kevin Feige also said our next few movies, and by that, I think he means at least one movie coming out in 2025, plus Avengers Doomsday coming out in 2026. I mean, Doomsday definitely seems like an obvious pick, as a Doctor Doom-focused, probably multiverse story, and the Russo brothers confirmed to collaborate Collider's Steven Weintraub at New York Comic Con that movie is in pre-production and will begin shooting this spring. So things that are happening in it are probably on Kevin Feige's mind. Feige was probably not referring to Spider-Man 4 because A, Feige and his team are less involved in the development of the Spider-Man movies that Marvel Studios co-produces with Sony. Those movies are primarily Sony productions developed by writers Chris McKenna and Eric Summers with the director, in this case Destin Daniel Cretton, and the studio execs on the Sony side, Tom Rothman and the rest, as well as Tom Holland in this case, and Kevin Feige would really come in at a later stage of development of that movie. Also B, I don't think Feige would be that excited to spend the valuable capital of an X-Men cameo in a movie that he would have to share with Sony. And C, Spider-Man 4 is probably just a bit further away from actual production, and they still haven't really locked in what they're doing for that film. So that really leaves 3 movie options in 2025, one of which will feature a recognizable X-Men player: Captain America Brave New World, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four First Steps. I don't think it's Captain America Brave New World or Thunderbolts. Those movies are set firmly in the MCU and do not seem to involve any multiverse shenanigans or incursions or portals to other realities, none of that stuff. Now sure, it is possible that Brave New World, a movie that deals with a war with Japan over adamantium, could tie in Silver Samurai, but that is a lesser known X-Men villain, and I guess Thunderbolts might attempt some crazy reality warp with the character of Sentry if they suggest that the MCU we've known all this time has had our memories and perceptions filtered so that we never knew Bob Reynolds, Sentry, and the Watchtower existed. But my gut tells me that neither Thunderbolts nor Brave New World are going to go in those directions. Like, look at the Marvels from the outset. That was promising wormholes, rifts in reality, and it made a certain sense that one of those characters might end up in another reality by the end of the movie. And so that really leaves the obvious candidate of the 2025 films, Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, I know this movie's getting harder and harder to conceive the more we theorize about it, because surely it cannot have room for all of these things we've been talking about: Galactus, Silver Surfer, Franklin Richards, Mole Man, Doctor Doom, and now, to top it all off, X-Men? We have talked about how it is possible that the X-Men, along with several Marvel characters, could just exist in this alternate universe Manhattan that the Fantastic Four and First Steps live in. But the issue is, based on what Kevin Feige and director Matt Shakman have promised about this Fantastic Four film, it's going to be an alternate retro-futurist 1960s, consistent with the Silver Age of Marvel Comics. And so any X-Men that we might meet in that particular historical setting probably won't be the iconic Fox X-Men actors from the era of the films that Kevin Feige was involved with. If we do see the X-Men in the 60s time period of First Steps, it's more likely that they'll be the X-Men in their original 1963 looks from that very first Uncanny X-Men #1, including Charles Xavier, Professor X with the blanket on his lap, Scott Summers, Cyclops, and that goofy look, Jean Grey, Marvel Girl, and her original look, Hank McCoy Beast, back when he was barefoot but his skin was not yet blue, Warren Worthington III, Angel, and Bobby Drake, Iceman, when he just kind of looked like a puffy, icy cloud. Maybe also their nemesis, introduced in that first issue, Magneto. Like, you're just gonna have to imagine the appearances of the X-Men that X-Men 97 depicted in the portrait in Charles Xavier's office. So I really think what Kevin Feige is referring to is a post-credit scene to Fantastic Four First Steps that returns to the mystery universe of the Marvel's post-credit scene. Remember the first example that APAC panel host framed his question to Kevin Feige with, and what probably was chiefly on Feige's mind when he was answering the question. Like, imagine Fantastic Four First Steps ends with like a major calamity, an incursion event, like that universe, that Earth ends up being destroyed, and then Fantastic Four escape through a portal to another universe, but that doesn't take them to the 616 MCU, but to the X-Men universe that we were in at the end of the Marvels, with Beast and Maria Rambeau Binary and Monica Rambeau. That, I believe, is a new X-Men universe that Kevin Feige and the Marvel executive team is building as the secondary Marvel universe that will primarily rival the 616 MCU in Secret Wars. We know this universe with Beast is probably not the Fox 10005 universe, because this universe has a Charles Xavier alive in it right now. And I would say Kevin Feige seemed to go as far as he wanted to in the Fox 10005 universe in the Deadpool and Wolverine film. Like, that film was kind of a send-off to that universe. This universe with Beast seems to be like an idealized X-Men universe with the same era of actors that Kevin Feige worked with when he was involved in the early stages of that first film in 2000. Now, I know Kelsey Grammer was not in that first film, but I think it's an indication of what era of X-Men we're talking about. Not the Nicholas Hoult Beast, but the Kelsey Grammer Beast, right? However, these actors in more comic accurate costumes and appearances based on the way they redesigned Beast with the underbite fangs. If Charles and Hank are alive in this universe with a still intact X-Mansion, I think it's safe to assume that the rest of the X-Men from their time and their universe are as well. And we actually got a big clue that whatever this universe is going through an incursion event, because when Monica Rambeau initially went through that tear in space, the Earth in the background of that new reality was covered in a red glow. And in Jonathan Hickman's Time Runs Out comics, a second red-tinted Earth was what it looked like when an incursion was imminent. And so I really think the familiar-faced X-Men that would excite Kevin Feige the most to tease at this APAC panel must, according to our deduction, feature the Fantastic Four from First Steps arriving to this X-Mansion in the post-credit scene of that movie and meeting, along with Beast, one of the following: James Marsden as Cyclops, Anna Paquin as Rogue, Halle Berry as Storm, Famke Janssen as Jean Grey, or Ian McKellen as Magneto, because those are the actors from the original 2000 X-Men cast whom Feige would have the most pull with to bring them back, and the ones he would be most eager to get them in their comic accurate suits, really to complete the redemption for this line from the 2000 film.
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
Feige is obsessed with that line. It keeps him up at night. Not only did it get referenced in X-Men 97 last season.
Am I going to war or a circus?
What'd you expect? Black leather?
It also came up in Deadpool and Wolverine.
That only took 20 years.
And even now, Kevin Feige brings up the importance of the yellow suit for Wolverine, as if he's just like weirdly obsessed with this.
For me, it was not even in the script. It was when we first started working on it, and I said, finally, for the first time ever, we want to see Wolverine in the yellow costume. And he walked out wearing that costume, and when he puts the mask down for the first time. I've been waiting 25 years.
And we should note that this answer came up right before Kevin Feige pointed to the 4 on his hat as the upcoming Marvel title that he's most excited about, as if his mind didn't really transition from one idea to the next, and that this idea of X-Men being in their comic accurate suit is connected to why he's excited to Fantastic Four First Steps. So yeah, I'm feeling very confident about a Cyclops cameo in the post-credit scene of Fantastic Four First Steps. James Marsden coming back as Scott Summers, but with lighter brown hair, a yellow visor with a ruby quartz lens, bright blue tactical suit with a yellow strap and a Y shape across the chest, the yellow gloves. He's gonna set up a lineup of everybody else who are gonna have similarly accurate looks. Anna Paquin Rogue in the yellow and green tactical suit with a green high collar jacket. Halle Berry in either the billowing white cape or, if she's up for it, the somewhat more provocative black suit that we saw in X-Men 97. Famke Janssen in the yellow and blue suit with the headband, and maybe even Ian McKellen, if he's up to it, in the Magneto red helmet and purple cape. But of all of these, I feel most confident that it's gonna be James Marsden Cyclops, because like Beast, he is the X-Men character so immediately iconic, and the actor who spoke the line in the 2000 film, and the actor that of all these, based on his like random appearances in shows like Jury Duty, seems to be the most game and the most eager to just show up on a set for a day. So which familiar X-Men face will appear in a 2025 Marvel Studios film? Well, if Kevin Feige is staying consistent with his past choices and sticking with his 25-year-long obsession, it's gonna be James Marsden Cyclops in a Fantastic Four First Steps post-credit scene in this separate X-Men universe that was established in the Marvels with Beast, and he's gonna be in comic accurate blue and yellow, and he's gonna make some quip about costumes, like maybe Reed will ask, blue and yellow spandex, really? And Scott will shrug, what'd you expect? Comment down below with which X-Men you think we're gonna see first and where you think we'll see them. Follow me at EA Voss, subscribe to all 3 channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.